This is the Coleman Montana Camping Tent, the long tunnel-style family shelter with the hinged D-door everyone recognizes at campgrounds. I took it on multiple weekend trips, dry, humid, and rainy, to see if the promise of fast setup and big space matches real use. From my experience, setup is doable but not as effortless as the box suggests. The brand says 15 minutes. Working solo. My first careful pitch took about 22 minutes because the shock-corded fiberglass poles have to slide through long sleeves, and those sleeves can snag. With a partner who knows the routine, I've gotten it down close to that 15-minute mark, and the process feels smoother. If I rush or the fabric catches, it turns into a patience test. Also, while some listings call it freestanding, I wouldn't rely on that. In my opinion, this tent needs to be fully staked and guyed to hold its shape and stand right. If you plan to put it on a platform or a surface where staking is tough, it will fight you. Key features that stood out for me start with the hinged D-door. Instead of wrestling a zipper every time, the door is framed by small poles so it swings. On family trips, that convenience is real. When I'm carrying a cooler or the dog wants out, being able to nudge the door open makes camp life less fussy. It still zips when you need a tight seal, but day-to-day, it's easy in, easy out. The extended awning over that door creates a little porch. I use it to kick off muddy shoes or stash a camp chair in light drizzle. Just know if wind-driven rain comes in sideways, anything left out there can still get wet. Space-wise, this tent feels long and narrow with a 16 by 7 foot footprint and a peak height around 74 inches. I can stand up comfortably in the center and move around without crouching much. Along the walls, the ceiling slopes down, so you lose headroom near the edges. 2 queen airbeds fit, with space to walk the center aisle, but the idea of 3 queens isn't happening for me. The official capacity says up to 8, and some product pages list 7. In my opinion, the realistic comfort zone is more like 3 to 4 adults or a family of 5 with bags, a dog bed, and a small camp table. If you're using cots, watch those sloped walls so the fabric doesn't press tight when it rains. Weather protection is where I had mixed results. There's a full polyethylene bathtub floor. Think of it like a tub that wraps a few inches up the sides, which is great at blocking ground moisture and small puddles. The floor is the part I trust the most. It's thick and tough. The Rainfly helps, but it doesn't extend far down the side walls. In a light, steady rain, I stayed dry, and the angled windows let me crack them for air without letting in drips. In a heavy, wind-driven storm, I saw trouble at the seams where the tent wall meets the floor. Water beaded and then started to work its way in, especially after 20 to 30 minutes of sustained pounding. Sealing those seams with aftermarket seam sealer before a trip helped, but the coverage from the fly is still limited. If you camp where all-day rain is common, that's something to think about. Ventilation is another hot topic. There are only a few windows and no low ground vents in the body, so airflow isn't its strong suit. On warm, humid nights with the windows down, it can feel stuffy. If it's raining and everything is zipped tight, I've woken up to condensation on the inside walls, even without active leaks. New campers, condensation is just your breath and humidity collecting on cooler fabric. Not necessarily a leak, but it still makes the tent feel damp. I bring a small battery fan and leave the top crack of the door and windows open as much as the weather allows to keep air moving. It helps, but this design is always going to run warmer and moister than a tent with more vents. Wind performance is a bit unpredictable. When I used all the guy points, kept the fabric tension even, and oriented the narrow end toward the gusts, mine handled moderate winds around the 30 to 35 mile/hour range without drama. Another time, in what I'd call a breezy afternoon, one fiberglass pole split near a ferrule, and I had to use a repair sleeve and tape to get through the night. Fiberglass is common at this price, but it can crack when stressed or nicked. If you take this tent into wind-prone areas, carry a repair sleeve, extra guy lines, and decent stakes. The included stakes are serviceable for soft soil, but I prefer heavier ones for sand or hard ground. Inside storage is pretty minimal. There's a small mesh pocket to keep keys and a headlamp off the floor, and a loop up top where I hang a lantern. That's it. The E-port, a little zippered flap that lets you run a power cord into the tent, is practical for car camping with a battery station or when you're at a powered site. Small quality of life details like that and the porch awning make daily use easier. The carry bag is generous enough that I'm not wrestling a tight roll every time I pack up, which I appreciate at the tail end of a trip. From my experience, this tent shines on laid-back car camping weekends when the forecast looks friendly and you want big, stand-up space without spending premium money. It sets a comfy base for board games, reading, or just moving around without feeling cramped. It's perfect for families who camp a couple times a year, or for anyone who values that hinged door convenience and a roomy interior more than storm-proofing and airflow. I'd recommend this for casual campers who pick fair weather dates, who plan to camp near the car, and who want an easy living space for 2 queen airbeds. Bring seam sealer, a small fan for airflow, a pole repair sleeve, and better stakes than the ones in the bag, and you'll be set up for a good time. If your trips regularly include all-night rain, mountain gusts, or hot, muggy nights with no breeze, I'd steer you toward a tent with a longer Rainfly, more venting, and sturdier poles, even as that means a higher price or a slightly heavier pack. In my opinion, the Montana balances convenience and size against weather performance. The hinged door and the floor are the heroes. The fly coverage, ventilation, and fiberglass poles are the compromises you feel when the weather turns or the wind picks up. None of that makes it a bad tent. It just makes it a tent with a very clear use case. Know what you need and it delivers. In conclusion, I like it as a roomy, fair-weather family shelter with standout everyday usability. I'm cautious with it in storms. I prep the seams, and I guy it out every time. Used within its lane, it's a comfortable home base that sets up without much fuss and packs down without a fight. I'll leave the details about the Coleman Montana Camping Tent in the comments for you to check out. See you in the next video.